What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful.com. Here with Coast to Coast's Shaheem Ali, one of the standout tag teams in the company. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Just woke up, getting ready for the day. I'm excited about this.
I know you're just going to sit around all day and watch other companies wrestling. I know that's something that we discussed off the air. That's what you just love to do. But I had kind of told you, yeah, I am interested in how the landscape of pro wrestling affects you. I mean, you and LSG have had this team for a couple of years, and there's more wrestling than ever, man. And you're featured on Ring of Honor all the time, and Ring of Honor's always changing. We've heard about them maybe going live weekly. Joe Koff says that's the next move. They've started to stream their tapings every time they go around. How do these constantly evolving and changing aspects of the wrestling landscape affect you?
I don't think it does not too much of effect in my personal perspective because I think it's great the more Ring of Honor is able to connect worldwide and throughout the United States and stuff like that. I'm just excited for where Ring of Honor can go. I mean, it helps us a lot because, when we're out there, when we're not wrestling for Ring of Honor, we still are out there doing independent wrestling. And I think that brings a lot of attention because, not to boast or anything like that, but it feels good to be able to walk into locker rooms and, people kind of pay attention a little bit more. Like, oh, wow, these guys have really worked hard. It's not like something where it's like, oh, here comes the superstars, or you know what I mean? So I think that where wrestling is going and where Ring of Honor is going, I think that it helps and this is overall, I think it not just helps coast to coast, but I think it helps a lot of wrestlers around the world because there's so much wrestling, like you were saying, that's taking place nowadays. And not to speak about other companies, but I do think it's great. The more companies, the better, because that means that the world can see how much great talent is really out there in the world. And it's exciting to see where the next, superstars or the next, excellent wrestlers will go, whether it's now I will name drop, whether it's the big companies, Ring of Honor, WWE, NXT, AEW, New Japan, or is it, Beyond, Evolve, I want to put all the wrestling companies out there, but just in general, because I have a lot of friends in different places. So it's exciting to see who comes up and whose work has been elevated and now showcased. So there's no effect.
Did you grow up watching wrestling?
Yes, I did.
So you've been working places like Madison Square Garden and Center Stage that were likely familiar to you. Do you get sentimental about that type of thing?
Afterwards, once I stepped foot into the building, Madison Square Garden for one, because I live in the Bronx now. It's awesome because I always go past Madison Square Garden, and to have been able to step foot on stage was I can't even think like I'm sometimes, because I'm just like that was me. I was out there, like I was really there, like, and all the legends that I've watched prior that stepped foot in there for the WWE when I was growing up, like Macho Man, of course. A lot of people will say that's their favorite because, I mean, granted, Macho Man was awesome. Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, seeing all those different guys that were in there. It's just great that Ring of Honor got the opportunity to be placed in that position, and I think it spoke volume a lot around the world that, hey, Ring of Honor and just obviously Coast to Coast got a great opportunity. I'm very blessed. I still look back and just kind of say wow, because there was a lot of emotion going into Madison Square Garden, as well as center stage. I've been to center stage multiple times, so now it's just kind of like we're back at center stage, so this is going to be an awesome night automatically. But yeah, MSG was definitely life changing for me. I felt great about where my career has been going, especially with being with Ring of Honor. So there's truly, every time I try to think of some slick words to say, there's nothing. It's a feeling, you know. It's a great, good feeling. Like you feel not relieved, but I was relieved afterwards. Everything was done, but just the whole entire night with Ring of Honor and New Japan and MSG, it was just like, I know I belong.
So
and it felt great.
How did the deal with Ring of Honor come about? How did you first land in the company?
I'm glad you asked that question, because I don't know if I ever mentioned this on any podcast ever. So a few years ago, when I was with the Monster Factory Pro Wrestling in MFPW and Paulsboro, New Jersey, I was training there for quite some time, performed there a lot with LSG solo at the time, because I was in a different tag team, and there was a seminar that was being held at the time when Kevin Kelly was still a part of Ring of Honor, and Kevin Kelly didn't come there for wrestling. And the funny thing is, well, not really, not too funny. I got sick humor, but my mom passed away not too long ago, and I was on the downslope. My career wasn't. Everything was fine, but just I was emotionally spent at that point, because growing up, not to go into a huge story, but growing up with a single mother, she worked very hard. She's the one who introduced me to wrestling, and growing up, I always wanted to honor that. I wanted to be a pro wrestler because my mom loved wrestling. She got me into wrestling, and I just remember that day that I stepped foot in the Monster Factory and met Kevin Kelly out in the parking lot first, and we briefly spoke, and he was, cool gentleman, and we got in and we sat down, and he came there to just view people doing promos and things. So I just remember going into it, I didn't want to do it. I didn't have any care to do it, because I was just sad. I just lost my mother not too long ago. So for me, I kind of just woke up that day and just was like, I'm just going to throw it all out there and see what happens, just for the hell of it. And luckily, when I did one of my promos with an old tag partner of mine, I kind of took the forefront and led the promo myself. And it's the first time I ever really did that, because usually I just like to chill in the background and just kind of throw some words in here and there, because I was a tad nervous. But that day I was not. I was just like, this is it. I'm throwing it all out there, because this might be the last time anyone sees me in professional wrestling. And luckily, Kevin Kelly, everybody went to break. And this was a moment for me, because it was weird. Like, you got Kevin Kelly, in your grasp to speak to, and not to bury anybody, but everybody, when it was time to go to break, everybody decided they wanted to go to lunch. I'm like, Kevin Kelly's right there. Like, speak to him. He has knowledge. Like, what do you, like, do you guys have not watched wrestling? Do you not know where he come from? You not know how long he's been in the wrestling?
And responsible for bringing countless people into the company.
Yeah. One of them being, and one of the people I've heard that he's helped before in the past with The Rock. So it's like, come on, man. Like, so I walked up to him and I just asked him, some advice questions, and he pulled me over to the side, and I never will forget this. And he literally was just like, hey, I see something in you. And he walked me over to a friend and sometimes a foe, but he is definitely as a friend for sure. Red Titus,
Mm-hmm.
who I've known for years. He brought me over to Red Titus, and he told Red Titus that, hey, get this guy up to the Ring of Honor dojo, make sure that he's there, you know. And he asked me, hey, can you get there, weekly? Can you get there on a Tuesday, a Wednesday, on a Thursday? And I just froze because I was just like, are you kidding me? I'm like, I've been wanting to be a part of Ring of Honor for years, and being cool with, I wouldn't say we're best friends, but Adam Cole, I've known him for quite some time, and I've been, I've met him years ago and trained with him briefly at CZW. So, that's the first person's name I popped into. I was like, man, I'm about to be in the same company as one of the guys I, kind of split ways with, because I should have followed his track and instead of being stubborn. But, there's all types of things that came to my mind when he asked me if I could be available to go to the Ring of Honor dojo. And I was just like, here we go. I'm back into it. And ever since then, things just took off slowly but surely, because, I was a part of the Ring of Honor dojo, and being under Delirious's wing was fantastic. He was definitely one of the people who looked out for me. He gave me a pass, and ever since then, to me personally, I've set sail before me and LSG became a tag team. So thank you, Kevin Kelly, if you hear this.
And shortly, I don't want to say shortly thereafter, but eventually you would team with LSG, who you've been teaming with for years now. Was that your idea? Was it his idea? Was it ROH's idea? How did the team come together?
We've always kind of just shot the idea out. It was actually it was just a joke, because during the time that we were both trying to get our singles run, or trying to, get something started in the singles division, it was weird, because we traveled along the roads and we're doing crew and things like that, and then eventually, we would get opportunities at the time when there were still dark matches, which are the pre-matches to the full show, for anyone who does not understand what that is. So get to the show early, unless you're standing in line buying merch. But anyway, we were doing, dark matches just so people could see what was to come of the future of Honor. And eventually we started getting put together in tag matches. And one day at training, I just remember I was in the ring. He was like on his way out, or I don't know, maybe going to the bathroom or something like that. He like turned, and I was like, hey, why don't we just be a tag team? Because they're always putting us together lately. And, we just kind of laughed, and then like we were just like, okay, maybe we should. Let's get some ideas together just in case they continue to do this. And then it wasn't until, I believe, there was a Nashville opportunity that we had, and I just remember we had different ideas that just kind of seemed like they would click more, and I was just like, man, we just need a name. That's it. I said we should just be in the tag division, especially because at the time, there was still a lot of stars there. You had Cedric Alexander there. Adam Cole was still around. Roddy. A lot of people were doing a lot of things in the singles division, so it was we kind of knew it was going to be hard for us to kind of make that for sure impact, especially because we weren't well known. So we jumped into the tag division, and all we needed from there was just a name, because Ring of Honor didn't really like us going by Shaheem Ali at LSG. They kind of wanted something more. And I just remember joking around. I said, oh, why don't we just call ourselves Coast to Coast? Because there was a time where we entered into the first ever Ring of Honor 6-man championship tournament. And we had another member with us that wasn't part of the roster, but I just remember we did a triple coast to coast, and that was awesome for one. And I just remember we got back into the locker room, and me and LSG were walking, and I just threw that little joke out there, like, hey, we should be called Coast to Coast, or we're gonna be a tag team. And like he was just like, all right, like whatever. We just kind of whatever a lot of stuff and just go with the flow, because you never know what's gonna happen in wrestling. Everything changes. Everything always progresses. So we just went with the name Coast to Coast, but there was no definition to it. And through the time that we've been part of Coast to Coast, been Coast to Coast and been a part of Ring of Honor, I think that our definition of Coast to Coast is basically two guys who basically have come up from different cultures, different, paths, and have come together to form a brotherhood. And through that brotherhood, we become this immaculate team that should be and will be unstoppable.
Now,
there's plenty more to it.
when I speak to Ring of Honor talent over the last year, there's been an interesting polarizing topic. Last year, Ring of Honor briefly switched to a white ring mat, and I got all kinds of interesting responses based on that, because I'll ask the wrestlers, like, when changes like that happen, why'd this happen, why didn't it happen, and I get that type of reaction that you just mentioned sometimes. What did you think of the white ring mat?
In all honesty, I didn't really like it.
It was a contrast. Usually everything was black on the show, and I could understand why they did it, but I mean, I get that reaction a lot.
It's all it's a visual thing, for one, but for me, the classic Ring of Honor mat was black with the Ring of Honor logo, in the middle, and that's, like I said before, things change, business changes, everything has to, go with the flow, and I feel like the vision had to change a little bit, and it's not a problem. It's just everyone's gonna have their own opinion, and me personally, I like the classic Ring of Honor look, classic black mat, like black canvas, and yeah, I mean, office does what they want to do. I mean, I ain't got no problem with that. I ain't gonna complain. I mean, I just have my personal opinion, just like other wrestlers do. So.
So, how do you see your future in Ring of Honor? Are you locked up there a long time? Do you see yourself staying there for the foreseeable future? There are options out there, and I mean, obviously, I'm not trying to say, "Hey, go work for everybody else." But what do you see for the future of yourself in Coast to Coast?
To be honest, it's always that's always a fresh topic between me and LSG. I can say that because we, not to put putting our business out there. We like to do per year contracts because you never know what's going to happen. God forbid there's an injury. God forbid, someone has to step away for business or family or whatever, because I see it happen a lot, not just in Ring of Honor, but in wrestling in general. You never know what's going to happen, so you don't want to lock yourself in just yet unless you know for sure everything's going to be all right. And not saying anything is bad. There's no blood in the water, but we speak a lot about Ring of Honor and where we want to go. We definitely want to be Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions. That's for damn sure. At the same time, we don't mind and would love to do, singles matches and have singles gold or singles championships opportunities and things like that. As far as sticking outside of the Ring of Honor bubble, I'm not opposed to, you know, going anywhere else, but I would prefer to stay with Ring of Honor for as long uh, as we can, as long as I can. I love wrestling, period. I would love to wrestle everywhere and anywhere, but you know, you can't cross certain lines because there's barriers where wrestling doesn't allow that just yet. But not to be Martin Luther King, but I do have a dream that one day wrestlers will be able to wrestle in any and every company without any contractual, you know, I don't know the word, but
restrictions.
Without any restrictions, because you know there's a lot of dream matches that I see, not just from super fans and things like that, but wrestlers. I know personally, you know, would love to wrestle so and so in other companies, but they can't, and that's why sometimes you'll see certain people in different independent companies trying to get that dream match there, or you know, or wherever the independent company might be, because we just love, you know, wrestlers love wrestling. That's you know, the politics, the business itself always changes. There's always a complaint. There's always a problem or something, but we try to find our way through all that in order to just give the fans exactly what they want. So, you know, I do have a dream one day that hopefully companies can do like a super show where it's not there's no issues, you know. It would be great to see and this is just me, but it would be great to see, and this is the fan part of me coming out, and judge me if you want, I don't care. It would be great to see, you know, Jay Lethal go up against someone from, you know, any of the stars from that are up there right now in WWE or AEW, or you know, obviously, thank goodness we have ties with New Japan, so there's always dream matches that can happen there. But you know, I just would love to see different stars be able to get into the ring just to see what would happen, you know. And I know a lot of fans out there and wrestlers who probably will be too afraid to speak up, because I like to speak I like to speak my mind, because you know that's just who I am. A lot of people try to tell me to shush, and I'm like, no, you got to speak up, got to speak up. But yeah, you know, going back to your question, definitely want to be Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. We're trying to head that way now. And if there is a possibility to become a singles champion, or I would love it. I would definitely dive in either way.
So as we wrap up, let the people know where they can follow you on social media.
Social media. I do have Twitter. I change my name up every every so often, only because there's believe it or not, there is fake accounts sometimes, which makes me feel a little bit famous. But yes, if you want to follow me on Twitter, it is Shaheem Ali 85. And Instagram, it is Shaheem Ali, SHYHEEM Ali, I believe 85 or 1985. I always change it, so you might have, you know, I might change it today, you know.
Well, I want to thank you so much for taking the time. I encourage everybody, you can check out Ring of Honor via various platforms. Their show is literally on their website. If you ever miss it, it's on Honor Club as well. And you can check your local listings as well. Shaheem, I want to thank you so much for taking the time.
I appreciate it, man. I'd hopefully be welcome back, because I got a lot more to talk about.
Of course. I would love to. Thank you so much.